Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. True God in Another World, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 18 Training. Rewritten, Jasmine Flamesworth Pav. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the slits of my window blinds, casting delicate ribbons of gold across the room, I stirred from the grasp of sleep. With a stretch and a deep breath, I allowed my senses to awaken to the world unfolding outside. The warm hues of the morning sky painted a serene backdrop. Slipping out of bed, I moved with a quiet fluidity. In the stillness of my chamber, I carefully chose my attire, my fingers tracing the smooth fabric of the black clothes. It was a familiar touch, comforting against my skin. Securing the robes in place, I fastened a supple brown belt around my waist, ensuring a snug fit. The belt served both fashion and function, allowing me to carry my double daggers effortlessly. Next, I gathered my dark locks, fashioning them into a neat ponytail that accentuated the angles of my face. With a final adjustment to ensure no loose strands remained, I surveyed my reflection in the mirror, my features composed. The events of yesterday lingered in my thoughts, a tapestry of surprises and revelations. It was a day when the seemingly impossible became reality, as we discovered the continued existence of Rimuru and Arthur, thought to be dead. Witnessing Rimuru's formidable strength as he overcame Adam and Director Goodsky served as a testament to his power. Moreover, learning that Rimuru and his brother had become disciples of the revered former king of the elves, Elder Virian Aerolith, showcased their immense talent. After the boisterous celebration concluded, I sought out Rimuru in the tranquility of the backyard. Moonlight bathed the surroundings, creating an aura of serenity. It was there, amidst the quietude, that our conversation unfolded, sealing a promise that would shape my future. Rimuru, despite his tender age of 4, possessed a maturity and wisdom that surpassed many adults. The idea of being trained by such an extraordinary child was peculiar, yet, as I came to understand, Rimuru was far from ordinary. Memories of our initial meeting flooded my mind, transporting me back to the beginning of our arduous journey towards Xyrus. It was a night steeped in uncertainty and anticipation, where the path ahead seemed shrouded in shadows. And it was under the moonlight that Rimuru and I engaged in our first heartfelt conversation, the words exchanged etching themselves upon the canvas of my memory. Flashback. As I emerged from the tent, a faint rustling sound reached my ears, drawing my attention. The night air wrapped around me, carrying a delicate coolness that contrasted with the warmth of the campfire's dying embers. Instinctively, I followed the source of the sound, my steps guided by a mixture of concern and intrigue. Walking through the moonlit camp, its ethereal glow cast a surreal ambiance upon the surroundings. The tents stood like sentinels, their fabric gently swaying in the nocturnal breeze. The moon, a radiant orb in the ink-black sky, illuminated the landscape with a silvery luminescence. In the distance, I spotted Rimuru, his figure perched atop a massive boulder. The moonbeams bathed him in their otherworldly light, highlighting his features and imbuing him with an almost mythical quality. His silvery blue tresses cascaded down his neck like a shimmering waterfall, each strand imbued with a captivating luster. As I drew nearer, I couldn't help but be captivated by Rimuru's striking countenance. His youth belied the profound handsomeness that emanated from within him. Serenity and tranquility graced his face, while his eyes, akin to molten gold, shimmered with a serene and gentle radiance. It was like he was a part of the sky, a celestial being who had come down to earth to show us its beauty. Awestruck, I found myself halting, drawn into the enchantment of the moment. It was as though time had suspended its ceaseless march, affording me the privilege of witnessing this ethereal tableau. Seconds stretched into eternity, and Rimuru's gaze shifted, meeting mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. In his eyes, the radiance of the stars shimmered, reflecting a profound depth that seemed to penetrate the barriers of my soul. It was as though he possessed an innate ability to perceive the unspoken, delving into the recesses of my being with a single glance. The mixture of exhilaration and trepidation within me swirled, forming a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume me whole. Trouble sleeping. His voice, a mere whisper on the night's breeze, reached my ears, blending seamlessly with the gentle rustling of leaves. I stood there, unable to find my voice, a silent nod conveying my wordless response. With a graceful gesture, Rimuru beckoned me to join him on the rock. Tentatively, I ascended the weathered surface, my every movement deliberate and measured. As I settled down beside him, the proximity between us felt strangely intimate, an unspoken understanding bridging the gap between our disparate ages. And so, we remained, perched upon that rock, our gazes transfixed upon the heavens. Time lost its meaning as we became lost in our contemplations. Previously unremarkable to me, the stars and the moon now unveiled their grandeur, their celestial tapestry unfurling before my eyes with newfound splendor. Rimuru's presence had breathed life into the cosmos, transforming the night sky into a breathtaking masterpiece. Suddenly, Rimuru's voice broke the serene silence, causing me to shift my attention towards him. "What do you think?" Perplexed, I turned my gaze in his direction, silently questioning the reason behind his interruption. A soft chuckle escaped his lips as he gestured upwards, directing my eyes to the vast expanse of the sky. "The sight of the sky, the stars, and the moon. Isn't it beautiful?" Rimuru mused, his voice tinged with a hint of wonderment and awe. His words tugged at a forgotten place within me, a place that rarely took notice of such ethereal beauty. Intrigued, I allowed my gaze to wander upward, my eyes tracing constellations that painted stories across the night sky. As I took in the celestial spectacle, a gentle wave of tranquility washed over me, soothing the restless corners of my mind. Curiosity brimming within me, I turned towards Rimuru, wanting to hear his perspective on this enchanting sight. "What about you?" I inquired softly, eager to unravel the depths of his thoughts. Rimuru inhaled deeply, as if savoring the moment before sharing his musings with me. "When I gaze upon the sky, the moon, and the stars, I find myself transported to a realm of unparalleled serenity," he began, his voice carrying a sense of reverence. "In their infinite beauty, I discover a respite that can only be found within the deepest recesses of one's being." I wasn't sure what he meant, but as he continued to speak, I found myself becoming more and more entranced by his words. Rimuru continued, his voice barely above a whisper, as though he were unraveling the secrets of the universe for my ears alone. "I cherish the tranquil hours of the night, where one can seek solace in solitude. It is during these moments that a person can ponder their own existence or simply immerse themselves in the magnificence of the sky, contemplating its mysteries." Rimuru's demeanor belied his age, his words weaving a tapestry of ancient wisdom that left me in awe. In his presence, I could feel the weight of his experiences and the depth of his emotional understanding. It was both awe-inspiring and humbling to witness such maturity and profound insight coexisting within a single being. A sudden comment from Rimuru interrupted the silence, catching me off guard. "You know, you're prettier when you smile like that." His unexpected words caused my cheeks to flush a deep shade of red, and I couldn't help but playfully hit him on the shoulder. "You should not tease people older than you," I said, my tone laced with gentle admonishment. He just laughed in response, but then we fell back into silence. As we sat there, side by side on that weathered rock, I realized that I had never felt so at peace before. It was as if I were in the presence of a wise and gentle mentor, one who exuded warmth and kindness, making everything seem okay in that moment. Time passed, and weariness tugged at our bodies, urging us to bid farewell to the starry spectacle above. Reluctantly, we retraced our steps back to the shelter of our tents, the memories of this shared moment etched deeply in our hearts. Nestling into my cozy sleeping bag, a profound sense of gratitude swelled within me for the enlightening conversation I had with Rimuru amidst the symphony of stars. Flashback ends, the memory of that simple moment remained etched deeply within me, a cherished recollection that never failed to stir my emotions. It was an unpretentious scene, just the two of us perched upon a weathered rock, surrounded by the serenity of nature. The soft rustle of leaves and the distant song of a bubbling stream created a symphony of tranquility that enveloped us. As I closed my eyes and delved into the past, the tranquility of that moment washed over me once again. It was a time of inner stillness, where contemplation and quietude intertwined harmoniously. Rimuru, with his gentle presence, had unveiled the celestial beauty of the sky in a manner that had eluded my grasp until then. Since that transformative encounter, a paradigm shift had occurred within me. Each time I found myself beneath the expansive canopy of the heavens, a newfound appreciation enveloped my being. The stars, once distant and aloof, now seemed like old friends, shining down with a comforting familiarity. It was as though Rimuru's essence lingered, guiding me towards the profound peace that had enveloped me during that fateful night. Lost in the recesses of my ruminations, I couldn't help but contrast my reserved nature with Rimuru's radiant aura. Unlike his vibrant spirit, I had grown accustomed to a more introspective existence, preferring the solace of my own company. Yet, his presence had ignited a dormant spark within me, urging me to explore the world beyond my comfort zone. When I left my room, the mellifluous melodies of birdsong greeted my ears, heralding the dawn of a brand new day. Helen joined my side as I traversed the corridor towards the threshold. Her voice broke the silence, a curious inquiry hanging in the air. "Where are you headed?" She posed, her eyes searching for answers in my countenance. "Training with Ri," I responded, my gaze fixed ahead, allowing the anticipation to settle within me. With her unspoken understanding, I continued my descent, venturing towards the lower level of the hostel. The early hour had rendered the first floor relatively vacant, its hallowed halls cloaked in a tranquil hush. The calm and peaceful atmosphere allowed me to clear my thoughts and prepare for the day ahead. The morning sun bathed the landscape in a radiant glow, casting a golden hue upon the world. The vast expanse of the sky stretched above me, painted in a breathtaking shade of cerulean blue. Wisps of silvery white clouds drifted lazily, creating an ever-changing tapestry against the azure backdrop. The gentle breeze whispered through the air, carrying with it the scent of dew-kissed grass and blooming flowers. Leaving the hotel behind, I embarked on a leisurely stroll towards Helston Honor. The convenience of its proximity spared me the need for a cumbersome cart, allowing me to appreciate the surrounding beauty as I made my way towards my destination. Upon reaching the grand entrance, I raised my hand and gently tapped on the intricately carved wooden door. Moments later, the door swung open, revealing a young maid who appeared to be only a few years older than myself. "Hello," I greeted her with a nod, acknowledging her presence. "Good morning, Miss Jasmine," she replied with a polite smile, her voice filled with warmth. "Young Mr. Rimuru is already awaiting your arrival in the backyard." With a graceful gesture, she stepped aside, inviting me to enter the house. I walked through the house, admiring the elaborate decor and luxurious furnishings. Despite the early hour, the household staff bustled about, their diligent preparations for the day ahead evident in their every movement. As I made my way through the corridors, I observed that only a handful of the staff members had begun their tasks, while the majority still slumbered or readied themselves for the demands of the day. Finally arriving at the backyard, I beheld Rimuru completely absorbed in his craft, engaged in the practice of his sword techniques. With each fluid motion, his body moved with a calculated precision, every swing, parry, and thrust executed with unwavering focus. Though he possessed a diminutive stature, his skill as a swordsman shone brilliantly, a testament to his immense talent and untapped potential. Intrigued by his display, I watched intently, my eyes tracing the graceful arcs of his blade as it sliced through the air. It was a dance of steel, a symphony of motion that held me captivated. After several minutes, Rimuru finally became aware of my presence. Setting his sword aside, he approached me, a small towel in hand to wipe the perspiration from his forehead. "Good morning, Jasmine," he greeted me with a genuine smile, his voice a harmonious blend of warmth and familiarity. "I must admit, I did not anticipate your early arrival. Does the prospect of learning from a humble genius such as myself fill you with anticipation?" He playfully jested, a mischievous spark dancing in his eyes. I playfully rolled my eyes at his light-hearted demeanor. "Yeah," I replied, a small smile gracing my lips. "So, what are we going to do?" "I told you I'd help you open the deflection, but I need to be sure of something first," he explained, walking closer to me. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice serious and firm. I nodded confidently, bracing myself for whatever was to come. I trusted Rimuru and was willing to do whatever it took to learn from him. "Rimuru Pav. It seems to be much more challenging than I had initially anticipated," I muttered to myself, frustration evident in my voice. Exhausted, I slumped onto the stairs with a heavy sigh, having dedicated the past 2 hours to teaching Jasmine the mana rotation. Despite her tenacious efforts, our progress remained stagnant. I couldn't help but acknowledge the truth in Sylvia's earlier assertion. Mastering mana rotation was a near impossible feat without commencing training at a tender age. Jasmine appeared worn out, her face etched with weariness, yet she stubbornly refused to surrender. Rising once again, she mustered the strength to resume practicing the technique. It was in that moment of sheer determination that a sudden epiphany struck me. What if I were to channel my own mana into her body? The idea flickered fleetingly through my mind, appearing implausible due to the perceived impossibility of manipulating another mage's mana in such a manner. Less than what if we tapped into the power of ether? Greater than Seal interjected unexpectedly, her voice breaking the silence. Greater than you're absolutely right. The solution lies within ether, just as I anticipated from you. Less than I commended her, a faint blush gracing her cheeks. Less than, however, there is a predicament we must consider. Greater than, Sylvia interposed, interrupting my burgeoning excitement. She was well aware of the challenge that lay ahead, her words ringing with caution. Yet, another solution began to take shape in my mind. Greater than indeed, Sylvia. My own body is ill-equipped to withstand the strain of utilizing ether extensively. Less than it is a hurdle I must overcome if I am to devise an ether core. Despite my inherent affinity with ether, my physical constitution is too feeble to endure its protracted use. Though I can exert some influence over it, protracted manipulation still results in discomfort and pain. Greater than, however, let us not forget the presence of Seal. Seal, I entrust this task to you. Less than, I declared, my words igniting a newfound determination within Seal. Shedding her timidity, she eagerly embarked on the task at hand. Less than, leave it to me, master. Greater than, Seal responded, her voice tinged with a hint of excitement. Keep pushing, Jasmine, I encouraged her, my gaze fixed on her as I sat on the stairs. The morning breakfast had been brought by the maid a while ago, and my father and Vincent had already left for work. Meanwhile, my mother, Tabitha, Angela, and Helen were gathered in the living room, and Lily sat beside me, engrossed in watching Jasmine's progress. Lily's inquisitive nature sparked as she studied Jasmine's face, marked with faint signs of exhaustion from her relentless practice. Why does she appear fatigued? Lily inquired, her gaze filled with genuine interest. Her eyes darted between Jasmine and me, seeking answers to her burning questions. What is she trying to achieve? She's attempting something incredibly challenging, I replied, my attention still fixed on Jasmine's determined countenance. Seal had joined in to assist her, but thus far, their efforts hadn't yielded any visible results. She's striving to absorb mana while it's in motion. Lily tilted her head, her eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and admiration. Is that truly difficult? She questioned, her voice filled with genuine wonder. I glanced at her and smiled, my hand gently patting her head. Well, you may not be aware, but many believed it to be an impossible feat, I responded. A brief pause hung in the air as Lily absorbed my words, her young mind processing the significance of Jasmine's pursuit. So, how will she do it? She asked, her voice filled with a blend of anticipation and eagerness. Fufu. Who do you think I am? I am someone who has a knack for turning the impossible into reality, I replied, a sense of confidence lacing my words. Less than. Greater than, do you have something to say? Less than? Less than no, I'm just amazed that I can't refute it. If someone else had said that, I would have laughed at him and said he's self-absorbed, but when you say it, I feel as if you're saying something normal. Staying with you seems to have made me as peculiar as you are. Greater than, Sylvia said, her voice tinged with exasperation. Greater than, don't blame me for being a stranger, my dear. Remember, you were a stranger even before I met you. I have never encountered a woman spying on two 4-year-olds while they were bathing before. Less than. Hey. I told you not to mention that. Greater than, she said, her anger evident, but I couldn't help but chuckle at her playful indignation. I turned my attention back to Lily. When you awaken your core, I'll train you in this technique. So, you better hurry, I remarked as I removed my hand from her head. Lily nodded, a newfound determination gleaming in her eyes. You're almost there, Jasmine, I encouraged her, noticing the way mana responded to her as she neared her goal. Rising from my position, I approached her and placed my hand on her back, surprising her momentarily before she relaxed, sensing the infusion of ether into her core. Just a few more, I urged, and mana began to gravitate towards Jasmine's heart. At first, the amount was meager, but within seconds it increased, prompting Seal to report. Less than, it's done. She's achieved it. Now she needs to acclimate herself to the technique. Greater than, Seal announced, emphasizing Jasmine's success. While Ciel's assistance played a part, credit was due to Jasmine's unwavering determination and innate talent. She could now manipulate rotating mana up to 5%, and that percentage would likely increase in the future. Well done, Jasmine. Now all you have to do is practice until it becomes second nature to you. I congratulated her, acknowledging her hard work and remarkable talent. You should be proud of yourself. Besides Arthur and me, you're the only person on this continent who can accomplish this. Jasmine's smile widened as she looked at me. Thank you, Ri, she expressed. Now, as much as I hate interrupting this moment, it wasn't our original objective. Shall we proceed to the real training? I redirected my attention to her, channeling mana into my ring and retrieving one of my swords. I know you might be weary, but before we delve into the intricacies of opening the sonic deviation, I need to assess your grasp of wind magic. Are you ready for a sparring session? I inquired. Jasmine's response was swift and confident as she unsheathed her twin daggers, transitioning effortlessly into a fluid fighting stance. A smirk played on my lips, a fusion of excitement and anticipation coursing through me. Then let us commence, I declared with fervor, the weight of our purpose resonating in my words. The air crackled with energy as we positioned ourselves, the palpable sense of anticipation filling the space between us. I think it's time to call it a day, I said, noticing the weariness reflected in Jasmine's nod. Her exhausted body was drenched in sweat from the grueling training session. The sky transformed into a breathtaking palette of vibrant oranges and pinks, signaling the imminent arrival of the sunset. We had devoted ourselves wholeheartedly to training throughout the day, punctuated by brief breaks to catch our breath and rest our weary muscles. We had been focusing on honing our combat skills through sparring and harnessing the power of wind magic. Once we had completed the physical exercises, I took the opportunity to delve into the scientific aspects of wind magic, hoping to enhance Jasmine's understanding and proficiency. Although sound magic remained elusive for her, I knew where to start. How are you feeling? My mother asked as she approached the backyard carrying my little sister, Ellie, accompanied by Tabitha and Lily. I feel like I'm getting nearer to unlocking the magic of sound, Jasmine replied, her voice tinged with weariness. As they drew nearer, she appeared pale and drained, a clear indication that her mana reserves needed replenishing. Eager to embrace my sister, I extended my arms, only to be halted abruptly by my mother's stern intervention. You, young man, need to take a shower first, she declared firmly, her eyes conveying a mixture of love and discipline. All right, I responded, though a twinge of disappointment tugged at my heart. And where are Helen and Angela? Jasmine inquired, her eyes scanning the vicinity. They went to the guild to sell the remaining mana cores, Tabitha informed us. But what have you two been up to? I can see the exhaustion etched on your faces, especially yours, Jasmine. Jasmine let out a weary sigh, as she gratefully accepted the damp towel Lily offered, wiping away the perspiration that clung to her forehead. Rimuru's training has been incredibly demanding, she confessed. Don't blame me, I retorted, seizing the other towel and dabbing at my own perspiring brow. If we don't push ourselves to our limits, we won't witness any significant improvement. A playful frown adorned Jasmine's face as she playfully jabbed at me. You could have gone a little easier on me, she teased, provoking laughter from the rest of our companions. My mother turned to me, her eyes filled with curiosity. Is Art also strong like you? She inquired, her voice tinged with anticipation. I shook my head in response. No, I replied, my voice steady and calm. The disease that afflicts him has prevented him from purifying his heart. He remains trapped in the dark red stage. Furthermore, he is preoccupied with battling his illness, leaving little room for progress in honing his skills with the sword or magic. Jasmine interjected with a question of her own. Can he at least utilize mana rotation? She asked, her voice filled with hope. I nodded in affirmation. What is this mana rotation you're speaking of? I must admit, this term is entirely foreign to me, my mother confessed, her voice laced with bewilderment. It is a technique I learned from Ri, Jasmine explained, her tone filled with a mixture of awe and reverence. It involves the continuous absorption of mana from the surrounding atmosphere while in motion or engaged in combat. My mother appeared stunned by these revelations, turning to me with a flicker of disbelief in her eyes. Absorbing mana while moving? I've never heard of that before, she exclaimed, her voice tinged with a mix of astonishment and incredulity. I have to agree with what Alice said. Even though I'm not a mage, I've read a lot about magic and I never heard of it, Tabitha chimed in, her voice laced with unmistakable admiration. Where did you learn this technique? From my mentor. I responded, though their suspicious glances made it clear that they were not easily convinced. The conversation subtly shifted towards Jasmine, as my mother directed her attention towards her. So, Jasmine, how are you feeling? My mother inquired, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. Jasmine mused, her voice laced with a hint of contemplation. It was undeniably shocking at first. This technique defies our established beliefs and logical understanding of magic. Ree spoke of it as if it were a commonplace occurrence. When I tried it for myself, it seemed completely impossible. However, with Ree's guidance, he performed some unfathomable feat that allowed me to grasp and utilize this technique. I find myself employing it even now, she explained, her voice a mix of wonder and gratitude. Well, we must agree that Rimuru is undoubtedly peculiar, Tabitha interjected, her words resonating with a profound sense of truth, echoed by enthusiastic nods from others, including Lily. Oh, come on, I'm just an ordinary person, I protested, my eyes rolling in playful exasperation. Less than. Greater than less than less than. Greater than less than. You must admit, Rimuru, you are a far cry from the so-called ordinary person, greater than. Less than I can only agree to that, master. Greater than, Seal chimed in, her words tinged with agreement. Greater than come on, Seal. You too? Less than I exclaimed, feigning exasperation. Laughter erupted from my mother, her delicate hand instinctively rising to cover her mouth as she struggled to contain her amusement. Ree, if you're saying that as a joke, it's a good one, she managed to say between giggles. Her eyes, sparkling with amusement, crinkled at the corners. I can believe everything except the idea that you're a normal person, Ree. Sigh well you're right, I guess I'm a little weird, I said. A little bit? Ree, you're more than just a little bit of a freak, Tabitha interjected, her tone laced with both admiration and awe. There are very few people who can beat Director Goodsky, but you managed to defeat her when you were only 4 years old. If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that Ree isn't normal, my mother finally managed to say, her words punctuated by stifled chuckles that escaped her lips. Her eyes, brimming with adoration, locked onto mine. But that's what makes him so special, right? I suppose you're right, I admitted, a genuine smile playing on my lips.